So might not want to go back in this year.
So I wish we could go back again tomorrow. I said, sorry, Charlie. When can we come back? I said, next winter.
Right, everybody's live on YouTube, so.
Live on YouTube?
Already, huh?
Got to like 2 seconds.
Jordan's going to be watching. Jordan's message on Facebook. He's going to be listening.
Okay.
Part of the English too. I sent both messages after you texted me.
Well, that's kept killing putting the lid on the old kettle here today, and I don't believe I can take any more time. I am Ivy Shepherd. I sure have enjoyed being with you. Thank you so much for stopping by, listening to some good old time music with me. Now, be sure to stay tuned for the Blue Ridge Spotlight. I know that Kelly's got a very special program lined up for you, as always, right here on WPAQ, and I'd love to hear from you, so keep in touch. Send me an email, ivy@borninthemountain.com. Find me online. Write me a letter, P.O. Box 45, Emory, Virginia, 24327. And I'm going to get out of here, hit it on down the old Lee Highway. So goodbye, good luck, and God bless you. If everything works out all right, I'll be back at the same time, same place next week, right after the Country Classics. And here's a good song with a good message to take us out today. This is the Prairie Ramblers with There's No Place for the Devil in My Home. So long.
We go to preaching every Sunday all through the week. There's no place for the devil in my home.
Looks like the Vegas.
We kneel down by the roadside,
For made the deck for. It's a 27 or something. 25.
Almost 100, ain't it? Let's have a birthday party for that band.
Close to it, ain't it? Yeah, that's right.
Boston Mass.
I played in this studio, let's see, been playing 49 years. I played in this studio the first year when I learned to play.
Yeah.
And have played here in this studio every year until they moved it to the Earl Theater. And we've played at the Earl Theater every year. The pandemic part, it kind of opened, it kind of opened back up at the very last year. It was our time to play, so we hadn't missed a year playing since 49 And I've played all of the Mount Fiddlers conventions, except the very first one, and I was at it, but I didn't play on
I was probably
stage.
singing into cans back then, wasn't you?
Yeah.
All right, another fine Born in the Mountain in the books, and we just thoroughly enjoyed it as usual. Ivy Shepherd does a great job pulling all this music and presenting it. So again, I want you to tune in next week for another Born in the Mountain with your host, Ivy Shepherd. And you can write her a letter. She likes to get mail, just plain mail, the snail mail. You can call, or you can write to her, Ivy Shepherd, at P.O. Box 45, Emory, Virginia, 24327. That's P.O. Box 45, Emory, Virginia, 24327. And it's ivy@borninthemountain.com if you want to do the computer. So thank you, Ivy, for another great show. You're listening to WPAQ, Mount Airy, North Carolina, the voice of the Blue Ridge. We have a very special Blue Ridge Spotlight lined up for you today. This is in conjunction with the North Carolina Appalachian Folklife Apprenticeship Program for 2021-2022. This project that we're presenting today is supported by the North Carolina Arts Council, a division of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. And I think there are about 5 musicians, 5 artists in the western part of North Carolina that are doing this apprenticeship program. And we have our very own Richard Boman, who is mentoring Chad Ritchie. Chad is the apprentice, And we're going to have a varied style of fiddling from this region, from this area of the country. They'll be playing tunes, and we're going to talk a little bit. And I'd like to welcome Richard Boman and Chad, and Marsha's here, and Barbara here. Folks, welcome back to WPAQ. You're certainly no strangers to us.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Yeah, we were just talking, coming on over. It'd been a little while since we'd been in the studio here at the station, but I've been playing about 49 years, and somewhere along in the last of that first year, I come to the radio station here on the merry-go-round and played. And I've played every year, sometime another, and sometimes twice a year here at the station since then. And when they moved it to the Earl Theater, then we've got to go down there every year and play. So we've not missed a year since I've been playing, coming to WPAQ somewhere along the way.
Yeah,
So
it's always a treat every time we get to hear you play and get to hear you perform, especially the WPAQ birthday just we had last week.
yeah.
And you just do a great job. All of your family, you're just so talented, and you represent our community so well with this kind of music.
Thank you very much. Anyway, Chad, he'd been learning to play. He lives down in Taylorsville, and he'd been learning to play down there in his area, and we'd been meeting at the Fiddlers Conventions and stuff along through the summer in the past few years, and he kind of seen this apprenticeship thing come on, and so he decided he would sign us up for that, and we did get it. And what it's supposed to do is maybe I'm going to start, if I can remember all of the fiddlers that I learned from starting early on, and kind of talk about them just a little bit and play a tune that I actually learned from them fiddlers. And it's quite a few of them after I sat down and got to realizing how many people I'd met. And the ones we'll talk about mostly is the fiddlers. It ain't counting all the guitar players and the banjo players that I've met over the years. But I'll let Chad say something else maybe if he wants to about the program, if he needs to, or maybe we'll just get started and then you can talk some.
Yeah,
later.
we'll just get started.
Okay. I guess about 1973 is when I first got started, learning to play fiddle, and I was 20 years old. And the first person I can remember hearing and then meeting a little later was Tommy Gerald. And Tommy was real free with his music, and a lot of people went there and learned his tunes. And so we're gonna play a tune that Tommy was known for pretty good, and it was Rockingham Cindy. So we'll just play that tune here and see how it turns out.
the Tommy Gerald style there, Richard?
That's a tune that I learned from him. The tunes that I learned from all those fiddlers, I did learn the tunes from them, but I don't play them like they played them. They had their own unique, style of playing. But that was one tune that I really struggled with. Tommy told me one time after I finally got to where I could play it, he said, I didn't think you was ever going to learn that tune. He kind of said what he thought, But,
Right.
But I'll tell you who's in here with me, Kelly.
Please do.
Is Barbara is back here playing the bass, and she chops on the melon some, but she's got the bass with her today. Well, we've been married, I guess, about close to 44 years, or going on about 45.
Yeah, you better straighten it out.
Close, yeah. But anyway, she's been following me around. I met her playing for dances, and she's drug around me all these years, and they got tired of me yet. I don't reckon. If she has, she's not said nothing about it. But then our daughter, we just got the one girl. Most everybody that knows us knows that we're about all together all the time. But Marsha, Todd is here playing the banjo, and maybe she'll play the guitar some directly. And Chad, he plays, Chad Ritchie, he plays the fiddle, the banjo, the guitar, the dulcimer, and I don't know what all he does play, but he's wanting to learn a lot of these old Surrey County tunes. He already knows a lot of that stuff, but anyway, that's what we trying to do is get these tunes that I learned off all these older people out, where people can listen to them and learn them and play them. So going on down the path, I guess the next person I met after I got acquainted with Tommy was Cowell Hilton, and he lived at Patrick Springs, Virginia. Nobody hardly ever knowed him much. When he was a young fella, he moved to West Virginia and worked in the coal mines, and married and had his family, and he had two brothers that was there with him. But when he retired, he moved back to Patrick Springs in Patrick County. And when I met him, he was probably 80 years old or something maybe then. And the next tune we're going to play is a little bit of Richmond, and it's a tune that I learned from him. It's a little bit different than the Richmond that most everybody else plays, but still it's the same tune, and this is the way Cowell played it.
say?
Campbell Hilton, yeah. In Patrick Springs, it's still in Patrick County.
Okay, and that's Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way he did it, is Richmond.
Yep, yep.
All right. Now, this is the North Carolina Appalachian Folk Life Apprenticeship Program, folks, for this year. And this is something you applied to be a part of, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been going for 3 years, and we were the third round, the third year. Yeah, the scholarship's been going for 3 years, and we applied the second year and didn't get it. And we were encouraged to apply again the following year, and we did get it. But yeah, the the North Carolina Arts Council is going to continue this grant next year, and I guess for 3 more years. Zoe Van Buren's the folk life director, and she was a huge help with us
Yeah.
working through this
All
grant
the paperwork,
process.
yeah.
Yeah, they were great to work with.
Now, you kind of grew up around bluegrass, right?
My grandpa and my uncle played bluegrass. I really didn't know the difference between old time or bluegrass, and kind of got to know Richard and his family, and kind of, oh, there is a difference between bluegrass and old time, and I really liked the fiddle tunes, and so yeah, that's one reason I wanted to work with him and learn a lot of the music that he learned from up on the mountain, which he's told me, you know, the Kimbells and Ivan Weddle and folks up that way. But I really did like Tommy Gerald, and knew that Richard had learned some tunes from them. So yeah, it's been a fun project.
Yeah. Well, we're just tickled to have you here on WPAQ with this program today. And you got several more fiddlers you're going to do their styles, right? Demonstrate their different style?
Well, it's I don't know if I could call it the styles, Kelly. It's just the people, you know, the people were so much different from one another, you know, and they all had their own style of playing, but you know, one didn't play like Ed, and of course I didn't play like none of them that I learned from either. So I was focused on the tunes, you know, the tune itself, you know, is what I was, you know, more focused on. So he mentioned Ivan Weddle. We got these tunes kind of, the people that we learned from got them set down kind of in order, but we're going to jump around here just a little bit because we'll have to change chords, retune. So we're going to get down here. Next person that will play a tune that Ivan Weddle made famous. It's called "The Long Tongue Woman."
Now, can I ask you, is this the one that we would go up to Mabry Mill?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to take my grandpa, Harry Epperson Sr., up there to dance.
I remember.
And that's when you and I kind of got acquainted.
Yeah.
I was probably I guess a teenager.
You was.
And I take my grandpa, who was 90-some years old,
Yeah.
up to Mabry Mill on the weekend. So he wanted to go dance.
Yeah.
And I remember Ivan Weddle. I remember that name very well.
Yeah. When he would get ready to play this tune, he would always look around. You know, his wife was always with him. Her name was Hallie, and he'd always look around, you know, making a little joke out of it to see where Hallie was. You know, he'd say, "We're going to play a little bit of the Long Tongue Woman." So that's what we're going to try right here.
All right, Richard, I've been listening to a message. Ronnie Clifton is listening in, and he said that some of these tunes are older than Black Pepper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, I was up at his shop one day, and I told he had a birthday or something, and I told him he was getting old as Black Pepper.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Gotcha. Oh, wow. That was Ivan Weddle, the way he would do Long Tongue Woman.
yeah.
All right.
And another person that come to the meal some was the Kimball family, Taylor and Stella and Ivory, after she had retired and moved back from Martinsville to Laurel Fork, and they would come out there some, and Mr. Kimball had got to where he didn't drive much, and I will tell this little tale. And Cap Ayers, and I'm sure you remember Cap being there. I'd go up on Sunday morning. They would get together at Mabry Mill from like 2 to 5. Well, I'd get up there at 12 o'clock. I couldn't hardly stand not to be up there, you know. I just couldn't wait till everybody got there to play. And Mr. Kimball got to where he couldn't drive, so I'd go up Cap's house, and we would take he had a big old old model Buick car, and we'd go out Mr. Kimball's and pick him up. And he had to drive kind of through the hayfield to get out to the house, and went out there and got him and come on out to the mill and played and got ready to go, loaded up everything, coming on back. And Miss Kimball, she was a little petite lady. She weighed 100 pounds hardly. And she said when we was getting on close to the driveway, she said, Cap, we'll walk from the driveway, you know, from the road on out the driveway. Cap said, no, I'll take you on out to the house and you won't have to tote your banjo. No, we'll just walk. And Cap said, no, I'll just drive on out there with you. She said, well, would you drive a little slower? You about beat the top of my head off over the roof of the car. Those shots was wore out on it, and he's bouncing her up in that back seat, you know. Would you drive a little slower? So, you know, it was always fun to be around those folks.
That's good.
She was when they would go off anywhere, they all wore little bow ties. When they had to go off anywhere and play, Mr. Kimball and Miss Kimball both would wear little black bow ties with their shirts, and Miss Kimball always kept her dress buttoned up, you know, plumb to the top, you know, with little brooches and stuff. It was really fun to be around them people.
That's like the old-fashioned style,
Yep,
I guess.
yep, sure was, yeah.
Yeah, they were from around Laurel Fork.
They live right there in Laurel Fork, sure did, yeah, yeah.
And they would come to entertain at Mabry Mill.
They would, and they've been at the merry-go-round here at the station. I know, because I've heard you play old recordings of them, you know, here recorded of them.
Right, we've got some old records by the Kimball family.
Yeah, yeah.
Go back pretty good ways.
But they played a lot of tunes that the Surrey County people here didn't play. And we're going to play a tune that's called The Old Arks A Movin'. And that was one that they played quite a bit. And I think Barbara's going to set this one out.
I might wish I had in a minute.
Some of the Kimball tunes and some of the Charlie Poole tunes, Barbara, she kind of, she says they twisted and crooked, so she just kind of sits out on some of them. But this is Old Arks A Movin'.
Kimball family would play.
Yeah, that was one of the very tunes that they played, and we'll play another if I can get Marsha to get her guitar.
Sure.
And, we'll play another while we're talking about Mr. Kimball.
Okay.
He played a
That don't help me much, Richard.
that cricket tune.
Now,
Ship in the Clouds?
Ship in the-
chord are they? I have no idea what I'm asking you because I don't know about chords, but this is all in one particular chord?
Yeah, it's we're playing D tunes right now. We're going to change chords and get in A chord in a little bit, but we're going to play another one right here that Mr. Kimball played,
Okay.
and it was kind of a crazy tune. He called it "Ship in the Clouds," and it's just a twisted up old tune, but it is pretty. If I can get it in
His
my
tunes
head,
are a little quirky.
get it going.
picking all this up.
Oh, well, thank you.
I've been watching him. I don't see any difference. Pretty good, isn't it?
He's really been working at it more than I did, I think, when I was trying to learn all this stuff. I used to think I was obsessed with it back early on, but I know he is. Oh, he gets up way before breakfast and grabs his fiddle. I never did do that.
You just didn't go to bed, your mama said.
So tell everybody again, Richard, how many years you've been playing fiddle or all kinds of old-time music. How long you been playing?
I've been playing 49 years. I started when I was 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
I actually started playing the auto harp before that, and
You've
played.
been on WPAQ, I know, on some of the afternoon shows, and you came in and you played your auto harp
Yeah,
in the control room.
yeah,
I think Jane Boman had you on one time.
she did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was the first thing I learned to play. But then, when I was 20, I got like I say, I heard Tommy at one of his birthday parties. He was always here at the merry-go-round and playing, him and a bunch of his friends, and I didn't know who he was or anything at the time, and I just heard him playing, and that's what got me interested in the old time music or any kind of music as far as that goes. You know,
Right.
it was just something that I liked to hear. You know, so.
Now, how about your friends? Were they into this too, or?
No, when I growed up, all my spare time I ginseng hunted and fished and squirrel hunted and done all of that,
Uh-huh.
and just just heard Tommy play, and then it just got interested in it right at that very time. So
Well, you turned out to be a natural.
Well-
Ronnie Clifton, I wish I could have played that, but he was just going on and on about how good you were sounding, and said you played as well as anybody.
Well, after I got to where I was meeting a lot of people, I met his family, you know, Verlin, of course, and
Yeah.
I'd go off with Verlin and them, and then when I kind of got a band of my own, Verlin would go off with us, you know, and play. Him and Paul Sutphin and Max Snow, all of the old original ones that, you know, that I grew up around. And Verlin, when he passed away, he was the last older generation that I knew and, you know, and had grown up around.
Right.
So he throwed that part of it in right in my lap, I reckon. So I'm the old guy now. So.
There you go.
But anyway,
That's good that you're able to continue this, Richard.
I still enjoy playing, and you know.
And now Chad's coming along.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then he's also got younger school-age kids down there where he lives that he's been helping a lot. I'll let him tell you about some of that.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, started the Junior Appalachian Musician Program down there, and was helping some kids learn old-time music. And yeah, got one young guy that come along and was wanting to learn some guitar, and he's done pretty well. So me and him pretty much played a lot together now. But yeah, it's not as much music community down that way as there is up here around Mount Airy, but it's coming along.
That's good. That's good. We want to see this continue to grow, and the young people pick it up. And
Yeah.
keep this tradition alive.
All right, well, we're going up. Like I say, I'll have to go back and get, I need to talk about Melvin Sladen and Rafe Brady just a little bit here in a
Okay.
minute, but since we're in Decord, I'll talk about Walter Morris. He played the fiddle with the Pine River boys in Maybelle, and he was quite a bit older than A.B. and M, and it was getting on, you know, he was getting on like 85-ish or so, and he kind of got to where he didn't want to go as much as they were playing, and they were playing a lot, you know, like dances every week, and Friday nights and Saturday nights, and fiddlers conventions, and a lot of the colleges had the folklife festivals and stuff, and they was doing a lot of that stuff. And Jake came to me one day at the fiddlers convention at Freeze, and we were playing, and he kind of caught us between tunes, and he said, he got over where I was at, and he said, "Hey boy, how would you like to play with a good band?" I said, "Well, I thought I was, you know." And he said Walter was going to quit playing with them, and he said, "We don't have no fiddler, and we got a lot of, you know, things to play." And I was just, didn't have a band per se at that time, but you know, was just playing with some of the same people, you know, about at the conventions every weekend. And so this went on, and I don't know, just every week or two we'd be where they was at, and he'd say again, "Walter's going to quit," you know, said, "We need somebody to help us play." Well, they come one time and Walter wasn't there, and they had just bummed a fiddler there. And then it went on again the next time, and he called, and I finally told him that, yeah, I would play. You know, I didn't want to get in front of Walter, but I would play if he had quit. Well, that's what we agreed to. The first place we went, Walter showed up. So, like I say, I didn't want to get in front of nobody, so I just stood at the back of the stage and jigged along on the fiddle right behind him, and he played just like he usually did. And the next time we played, he wasn't there, and I played. And then the third time we played, Walter was there again. And I just stepped at the back of the stage and let him do the fiddling. And then he got to where he didn't come around. He had done got, you know, getting pretty feeble, so. But I can remember that first time, you know, I thought, Lordy me, what am I going to do now, you know? You know, there he is. So I just stepped aside, and he just played. Nothing was ever said.
Yeah.
Nothing was ever mentioned about him being there or not being there. So.
Right.
But I played with those folks, you know, probably 5 or 6 years, I guess. I played with them till Marsha was born in 1982. And I think we'd all went to the World's Fair, and when I come back, that's when I quit playing with them till Marsha got big enough to start going to the, you know, out and about, which was probably a year and a
half.
Probably a year and a half or something. She got old enough till we started going back.
Drag her along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we never left nowhere. She was always where we was at. So.
That's great.
But we're going to play a tune that Walter made famous.
Okay.
It was a tune that they played in the competition at the Fiddlers Conventions a lot, and it's called the Yeller Cat. Yeller Cat, that was one that Walter Morris and the Pine River Boys and maybe win a lot of fiddlers conventions over the years with that tune. One of their worth signature tunes. We're going to slow it down maybe and play a little bit of the Wednesday Night Waltz.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? I got a question from Jordan Nance. They're listening over in Reedsville. And it's a good question. Curious if the songs are written down or primarily passed down from musician to musician.
Passed down. Yeah, learned them from warm hands.
Ah, okay. So not written down, but passed down.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have, but I think I have one song at the house that that Barbara wrote down on a piece of paper for me, and it's one that Jim Eanes did, and it's called The Little Brown Hand.
Yes, yes,
And,
very familiar with that one.
Yeah, and that's the only tune that I've got, I guess, that I've got written down on a piece of paper.
Of all the tunes that
Yeah.
you do, that's amazing.
Yeah. Just if you didn't learn that tune this time, you know, you maybe learn half of it or something. You'd go back, you know, maybe the next time you'd catch you the other part of it. You know, I actually learned Angelina Baker when I growed up. Didn't nobody much play that. The old time pickers didn't. I don't know, for some reason I guess they considered it a bluegrass tune. Maybe, I don't know. But nobody then played that tune, and I heard it on the radio one day. And who's the bluegrass fiddler? Tim O'Brien, is that his name? I heard him, well, you played it here, babe. And I was in the car and I caught the tune, and I had heard it before, but it didn't catch my ear like it did when he played it. And that ain't been so many years ago. And I kept that thing in my head till I got to the house, and I could remember the first part of it, and I couldn't get the last part. So I don't know, it might have been a month or so later, it was on again here from the radio station, and I caught the last part. So that's how I learned to play Angelina Baker.
How about that?
And Marsha don't like that tune too good.
We're not going to play that tonight.
She can tell you the story about that if she wants to.
Ruled that one out. Okay.
I think when she was in college out at ETSU, I think they played it every day, day and night.
The song they knew how to play.
And I think she said that was the only song that they could play out there at that time. But so she kind of got a belly full and a bucket full too of it, I guess. But
Dad had got to where he was playing it all the time, and I thought, I'm going to Tennessee, I'm not playing that song. And the first song, when we had little tryouts for band, somebody played that. I thought, Lord help me.
But we're going to play a little bit of the Wednesday Night Waltz, and that's a tune that everybody played back then. And we were talking a while ago at the house. I couldn't remember exactly who I learned that tune from. I never could pinpoint where I learned it actually from, but everybody played it, so I guess everybody that could play, I guess I learned it from. But a little bit of the Wednesday Night Waltz.
again, if you're just now tuning in, what we're doing today.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and say?
Yeah, I'll get Chad to do that right there, right now.
Sure, yeah.
We're gonna look for a little.
Yeah, this is part of the North Carolina Appalachian Folk Life Apprenticeship Program. It's a project that's supported by the North Carolina Arts Council. There's a division of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
Okay.
And you can learn more at ncarts.org.
ncarts.org. And you were selected, you applied for this, to have this apprenticeship, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you tried 2 or 3 times.
We tried last year, and
The pandemic hit, didn't it?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
kind of glad in a way.
Yeah, it was meant to be then.
Yeah, and so we were awarded this. We found out in May, and then it goes from July to June. So
Okay.
yeah, we've been working. Gosh, 2 or 3 times a month. I'll go to Richards, or he'll come down to my house, or we were meeting some at fiddle conventions when they were going on. So
That was my next question, was how often do you all get together and play?
yeah, and if we don't get together, we usually talk. I guess once a week or
Yeah.
something on the phone, and just talk about fiddling and yeah.
Oh, Chad, do you find any particular fiddler and their tune easier than some of the others? Is there one that, are they all about the same as far as difficulty or whatever you want to call it?
I don't.
Is there one that seems to come easier to you?
Maybe the Tommy Gerald stuff, because I guess I listened to him so much.
Right.
The Kimball stuff's a little bit quirky.
Yeah. Ask
Yeah.
Barbara.
Yeah, yeah,
That's Marsha too.
yeah. But once you kind of get your head around what they're doing, they're pretty fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you all do a great job. We have Richard Boman, Chad Ritchie. Richard is the mentor. He's mentoring Chad Ritchie, the apprentice. And we have backup, none other than Marsha Boman Todd and Barbara Boman. We didn't give them enough credit, did we?
Let me see. All
Where do you want
right.
to go next, Richard? This is fantastic. I'm learning a whole lot from this.
Well, we're going to get over here and talk about Ernest East just a little bit. He always looked over his glasses at you, and he just, anytime you ever seen him fiddling or anything, he had them glasses down on his nose. He was looking at everything out trying to, so he must have not been nothing the matter with his eyes, because he hardly ever looked through his glasses, but he was a character.
He's taking it all in and enjoying it.
He was.
Yeah.
But we got to be around him a lot at the end of his playing career, the last several years. He would come to our house up at Ararat, and Barbara would always fix hot dogs and potato salad and stuff. And Ernest wasn't supposed to eat so many of them hot dogs, and he'd slip around and get where Barbara was at, and she knew what he wanted, and she'd slip him a hot dog, you know, and he'd just eat that hot dog by himself, you know, before anybody else got to the table. And he would do that every time, you know. He said, I'd rather eat them hot dogs that Barbara Boman fixed than any hot dog I ever ate. But then he would eat his regular meal when they did sit down, so he was a case. But he had some signature tunes that he played, and Scotty, his son, and Mac, of course, and then Patsy always sang, but we always like to play this tune. It's called Stagger Lee, and I don't know if Marsha wants to sing any on that stuff or not.
We'll see.
We'll see, she said, but this is Stagger Lee that Ernest played.
dance tune, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, it is. And somebody had asked me, they noticed that I put Indians on some of my tunes and some of them I didn't. And I've had a couple of different people to ask me about that. And why I didn't put it on them all, or why didn't I just leave it off of all of them. And I said, well, some of them tunes has got Indians to them and some of them ain't. You know, and I wasn't just making that up. It's the way the tune is in my head. Some of them you can put them, some people calls it potatoes on the end of it. It's just a shaving, a haircut or something. And it's pretty easy to do. And then some of them it's hard to do with the bow to get them on there. So I've learned over the years which ones to put it on and which ones to leave it off of.
Let the dancers listen to know.
But we'll get to talking about bent and flipping.
Okay.
I don't know hardly what to say about that fella.
He was real soft-spoken gentleman, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had a dry sense of humor, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I interviewed him one time, and I don't think he talked much at all. I tried to get him to answer my questions.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing better than I was expecting. I'm real nervous myself in here right now. I feel like a cat staring down the end of a pellet rifle is about how I feel. But anyway, everybody that played in bands around in this area got to go in 1982 to the World's Fair out at Knoxville.
Yes.
We got to go when I was playing with Jake Lewis and the Pine River Boys, and Blanton Owens and them got Tommy and them to go, and Ernest and them went.
The Draggers went.
The Dry Hill Draggers went.
And
White Top and Benton, and everybody got to go and stayed a week at a time. And there was a big old house there that they kept everybody, and they had people hired to cook breakfast in the mornings, and then they come got everybody and took them over to the park where all the activities was, and that's where you ate your lunch and your supper. And I don't know, it's about that second morning, I guess, they asked Benton, one of them ladies that was doing the cooking, said, Mr. Flippin, how was your breakfast this morning? He said, well, if I sucked eggs, it'd have been all right, I guess. So I took it they didn't get his eggs done enough to suit him. But,
That's great.
But they used to have some times, you know, Benton and Lois and them did. But
Well, I'd like to spend my time there at that house. And you know, the World's Fair, that's fine, but I'd rather be there with all you musicians.
yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Well, it was fun.
Yeah.
We played all day, and when we get back over at the house, because there were several bunches there, you know, and we'd play half the night, you
I
know.
bet. I'm sure you did.
But we're going to play a tune that I picked up off of Benton, played it a lot. It's called the Peacock Rag.
Okay, I love that.
And how I learned it, when Paul Sutphin would be off with us, with my bunch of playing, and he did a lot, he would say, play the Peacock Rag, and I just kept saying, I don't know it, you know, I hadn't learned that tune. And he said, it goes like this. Well, he beat and knocked on the guitar there till I got the catching part of it, and after about 2 or 3 times, you know, going off, I finally did learn it, but it was a Benton tune, I considered. So, the Peacock Rag.
Okay.
Peacock
flipping.
Benton, yeah, Benton had several tunes kind of like that. I mean, everybody plays those tunes now, but back then, Benton had a few tunes that he played that hardly anybody ever played, and a few of them still hardly nobody plays. I guess getting on along, I met Everett Dawson. I had met Uncle Amos Dawson, the superstar of the merry-go-round, you know.
Yes.
Before that, but then I met Everett, and met him through Clyde Johnson, of course, and we would go over to Everett's house. He lived at the foot of Orchard Gap, I guess it was, and we'd go over at his house of a night and play. And Everett was like Arnold Spangler. He could sing every tune he played. It didn't make no difference what he played. He knew the words to it, and did sing a lot of them. And he sang a lot of old tunes. But this is one of the ones that I did learn from him, because I used to get him to do it for me and sing it. And it was "The Banks of the Ohio." You know, it ain't got nothing to do with old time music, I don't reckon. It's just an old tune.
You got to tell about the Beagle Dog too.
Well, I could. The first time I went over to Everett's house, he had an orchard, and he worked in town here, but he had an orchard, and he had cattle, and he liked to coon hunt and rabbit hunt, and he had some coon dogs. And sometime a little while before that, one of them coons had kind of hurt one of his dogs pretty bad, and he'd had it in a box in the house, and it was an older dog, so when it got better, they just kind of kept it in the house. It was, you know, about blind, and so they just kept it there for the good it had done. And I took my fiddle, laid my fiddle case down at the end of the couch where I'd sit down, and we talked there a little bit and got ready to play. I just took my fiddle out of the case and just left the case open. And while we were playing the first tune, that dog, I seen him get up, and here he come wobbling along, and he gets over there smelling around, and he got over in my fiddle case and laid down. And he laid there the whole time I was there playing. And when we got ready to go, I said, Everett, I said, you're going to have to get your dog out of my case. I said, before I put my fiddle up. You know, he didn't know he'd lay down in it. But he laid there the whole time, and Everett, he said, yeah, I said, he likes this music pretty good. He gets as close as he can.
Get in the case.
Yeah, but anyway, this is the Banks of the Ohio. guess going on around and getting back on top of the mountain, I met Kyle Creed. When I first met him, Kyle was mostly the banjo player, and he had played with all of the older people that would have been in his age range, I guess. But then towards the end of his playing, he started playing the fiddle all the time, and had got some of the college kids and stuff like that was moving down in this area to play the banjo with him. And they was 2 or 3 different ones that would play, like they'd be down here like for a year, and then the next season it would be a different college kid, you know. But Kyle still played the fiddle, and he recorded, him and Emily Spencer, I think, they recorded this tune. It was Liberty, and that was one of the albums that they did. That was what they titled the album, was Liberty, wasn't it, Chad? I think. But
Great album.
yeah, but anyway, I had learned to play Liberty, but I had heard Kyle play it, but then I got to thinking about it, and where I actually finally did pick the tune, all of it up, was at Mayberry Mill, and it was off of a bluegrass fiddle player. And it was J.A. Midkiff that played the fiddle for so many years with the Country Boys. He was a barber there in Stewart, but he played fiddle for years and years and years, I guess. But we was at the mill one day, and I was trying to play the tune or something other, and he had his fiddle with him, and he said, "Here's kind of the way that part goes," and I can remember how he played it, and that's when it finally clicked, that I picked that tune up from. So we're gonna play a little bit of Liberty.
All right.
Let's get in G chord, you know what I'm doing?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to retune Kelly and get in G chord just a second.
Let me read this portion here on the literature that I have about the North Carolina Appalachian Folklife Apprenticeship Program 2021-2022. Mentor artists are tradition bearers committed to the perpetuation of a traditional art form or practice of their cultural heritage. Mentor artists are recognized by fellow artists and their own community members as skilled and dedicated practitioners. Apprentices are dedicated students whom mentor artists have chosen for a sustained period of study in their art form or practice. Throughout the apprenticeship, The mentors and apprentices document and publicly present their work together within their communities. And that's what we're doing here today on WPAQ in Mount Airy, is we're recording this so we can have this for a lifetime, Richard.
Good, good.
Other generations can benefit from this.
Good, good, Katie. We got tuned over here in G chord, and Marsha got the guitar back up.
My commercial's over, so
He said his commercial was over.
that was my commercial.
Okie dokie. We're gonna go back up the list now and talk about Melvin Sladen. he was another case. I tell you, he was some more Melvin.
He was something. You know, one time I was going to school at Surrey Community College, and I was probably my second year over there, and I was late for class. Imagine that, at Epperson being late. But anyway, I got in this traffic on 601 heading toward Dobson, and it was backed up. And I thought, I'll never get there. I'm never going to make this class. And we were having to study for an exam, and I was going to be late. Finally, one car after another started passing, and I worked my way up, and there was this green vehicle, like a truck car type thing. It was different. And I finally got a chance to pass it. And I looked over, and it was Melvin Sladen. He was probably doing about 30 miles an hour on 601.
Yeah, that would have been him.
And I was late for class, but if anybody's going to make me late, it'd be Melvin. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll forgive him.
yeah. Well, he was our friend. He was just a family friend. And, we knew him. I knew him. And then when Marsha come along, she knew him as good as we did. I went to the first Fiddlers Convention that I went to was with Melvin Sladen, and it was down at the Siloam School. Before I learned to play the fiddle, I was playing auto harp, and I went down to Siloam School with Melvin, and you know, then I knew him then, you know, the rest of his whole life. We actually went and played for his funeral when he passed away, so. He was just a special person to everybody that knew him. I didn't know if you knew this, his Carly Marion's first wife, which passed away, anyway, her and Melvin was brother and sister.
I had no idea.
And then Carly remarried the lady that he was married to then for a long time, Ethel. But you know, that's how that family tied in together.
Oh, interesting.
But they was, you know, they were special people, and he had a unique style of playing of his own, you know, too, just like all the rest of them. But we're going to play, I guess, a little bit of Cackling Hen was what he made so famous, one of the tunes.
That was his signature tune, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.